Good evening, and welcome to this week's virtual episode of NewsNight. Tonight we'll discuss international news, like new legislation in Spain, and more local news, like what celebrity took time to speak at a local protest. All this and more coming up on NewsNight. Good evening, I'm Claire Lindsay. Tonight we'll start off with your international news. Last week, Spain became the sixth country in the world to legalize euthanasia, otherwise known as assisted suicide. The new law makes it legal for those who have suffered long-term with an incurable disease or those with unbearable lifetime conditions. The bill passed by a vote of 202 to 140 in Spanish Parliament's lower house. The euthanasia bill was supported by the left-wing governing coalition and others. However, conservative and more right-leaning members of Parliament heavily opposed it and suggested that they will overturn this legislation in the future. This bill was created 3 years ago but underwent multiple revisions in parliamentary committees and the Senate. Health Minister Carolina Darius told the Congress of Deputies, "We are heading towards a more humane and fair society." Darius also mentioned that the passage of this bill is a huge feat for human rights in Spain. This bill will be in effect as soon as June of this year. Patients will need to apply for approval to receive the life-ending assistance. This process could take over a month to be completed. Several rounds of requests and consultations will be required, and only after the patient's fourth statement indicating their desire to end their life will authorization be given. Neither public nor private medical workers are legally obligated to participate in this practice. They may opt out if their beliefs do not coincide with assisted suicide. This past week, there has been some turmoil between Russian President Vladimir Putin and President Biden. Reporter Nick Konopka has more information on the exchange.
When ABC's George Stephanopoulos asked Joe Biden if he thought Vladimir Putin was a killer, the president responded by saying, quote, "I do." This two-word answer prompted a strong response from Russia, signaling a change in U.S.-Russia relations from the Trump administration. The same day as the interview clip was released, Russia pulled their ambassador to the United States out of the country to reevaluate relations between the two nations. Later, when asked about Biden's comments, Putin contested that Biden was the real killer. Putin also expressed hopes that the United States and Russia will be able to work together despite these comments, a sentiment that was also expressed by the White House. However, Putin also added that the United States should expect to work on Russia's terms. Despite the heated rhetoric, President Biden did not step back on his comments, and through Press Secretary Jen Psaki expressed further his want to work with Russia while taking a stand against their hostile actions. This balance has been seen in the fact that Biden renewed the START treaty with Russia, while at the same time placing sanctions on the country for the assassination attempt of Alexei Navalny, in what will seemingly be an era of tense relations between Joe Biden and Vladimir Putin.
Coming up after the break, national news like the developments from the Center for Disease Control and more information regarding the vaccines. Stay with us.
Go to our new website, uview.pointpark.edu.
Go, 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 go.
Join UView and find your herd.
Be like,
Join EOP.
and 3, 2.
Join EOP.
I was just saying, grab him now, or else I will snap him.
Yeah.
Join on point with politics.
3, 2, 1.
Join Pioneer Sideline.
Loneliest number that you'll ever do.
Spring has now dawned, and the season of spring break is now upon us. However, in the midst of the pandemic, vacationers are being advised to stay home to slow the spread of COVID-19. but that's not stopping crowds of massless partygoers from forming, especially in Miami Beach. Officials of Miami Beach made the decision to extend curfew and the state of emergency after the spring breakers swarmed the area. Police attempted to control the crowds, going so far as to shoot pepper balls into large groups of unmasked people. Mayor Dan Gelber expressed his concerns, saying that some members of the crowd engaged in fighting and gunplay. The Miami Beach police released a tweet stating that since Friday, 50 people have been arrested and 8 firearms have been confiscated. Last weekend, 100 people were arrested and 2 officers were injured by the rowdy partygoers. Recently, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis reopened the state's economy and opened the doors for tourists. Mayor Gelber said that this decision didn't help the influx in spring breakers. City Manager Raul Aguila has the option to extend the curfew until late April. As partygoers refuse to follow COVID precautions, the curfew is looking like it will be staying. An 8 p.m. curfew is in place for the city's entertainment district on Thursday through Sunday for the remainder of March. Bridges and causeways are also closed on those days from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. More on COVID-19, the CDC has released and updated some new information pertaining to schools and social distancing. Reporter Alexa Shawless has more.
The Center for Disease Control and Prevention announced on Friday that it would be relaxing the physical distance requirements for students in schools from 6 feet to 3 feet. However, the CDC said that face coverings are still mandatory and that teachers and other adult school staff must still follow to the 6 feet guidelines. The CDC Director, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, said during a briefing on Friday that, quote, "These recommendations are specific to students in classrooms with universal mask wearing," end quote. She then stated that, quote, "The CDC is committed to leading with science and updating our guidelines as new evidence emerges. Safe in-person instruction gives our kids access to critical social and mental health services that prepare them for the future, in addition to the education they need to succeed," end quote.
In the past year, due to COVID-19, there has been an influx of expensive funerals. Reporter Nick Konopka has more on what the National Funeral Directors Association is doing to relieve some of the expenses for these families.
According to the National Funeral Directors Association, the median cost of a funeral in 2019 was $7,000, and for the hundreds of thousands of families who lost loved ones due to COVID-19, those numbers can be crippling. Thankfully, assistance is available for those families. Beginning next month, FEMA will reimburse funeral expenses up to $7,000 for individuals who have died from COVID-19. This $2 billion initiative was approved by Congress through the 2 most recent COVID relief packages. Citizens within all U.S. states and territories will be able to receive the funds, granted that COVID-19 is the documented cause of death for their loved one on the death certificate. As it is planned, reimbursements will only be allocated to deaths that occurred between January 20th, 2020 and January 31st of 2020. Families can apply for the money through a toll-free number, which will be available as soon as the program begins. In the past, FEMA provided similar funds following disasters such as 2017's Hurricane Maria, where the lack of adequate funding led many families without relief. However, these 2 most recent COVID relief packages have provided FEMA enough money to properly reimburse families during this current nationwide emergency.
Coming up after the break, we'll have your local Pittsburgh news and your weekly weather report. Stick with us.
What's one word to describe CAB?
Welcoming.
Community.
Creative.
Experiences.
Family. Openness.
Pineapple.
The Campus Activities Board is a student-run organization that consists of 7 different committees. Each focuses on event planning, marketing, and administrative activities. Join us in organizing the juiciest events on campus, from late-night bingo to festive dances to our team bonding meetings. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Point Park Cap, or like us on Facebook at Campus Activities Board at Point Park University.
Good evening and welcome to NewsNight. I'm Josh Troop alongside Jess Paterchak.
Defending his decision to kick out 15 Cuban diplomats from the United States.
Thanks, Allison. Fitness on Demand has returned to Point Park. Residents fear that Mount Agung will have a repeat of 1963's eruption.
Two-star NFL quarterbacks made the headlines this week after wrapping up.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. That's your news tonight. For Nick Tomarello, I'm Alex Grubbs. Have a great night.
Pittsburgh was honored to welcome TV star Sandra Oh to our city last week. Oh came to participate in the Stop Asian Hate rally that took place on Saturday. The rally was one of many that are occurring across the country following the tragic killings of 8 people in Atlanta. 6 of those people were Asian women. Oh came to the city to stand with those who are angry and scared. She wielded a megaphone to deliver her powerful speech to the crowd. She said that one of the best ways to deal with your fear is to reach out to the community. She also made it clear that she is proud to be Asian and encouraged the crowd to chant, "I am proud to be Asian, I belong here." She ended her speech by calling everyone to action to stop Asian hate. The rally was organized by a group named Thrash the State, a collective run by trans, queer, gender nonconforming, and people of color. The group's purpose is to dismantle systems of oppression. Along with organizing skate events, Thrash the State has also participated in movements to hold police accountable and end racism. This past week brought sunshine and warm weather to Point Park students and Pittsburgh residents everywhere. Alexa Shawless has more on what we can expect this week from the weather and how much we'll actually be able to get outside.
Thanks, Claire. We can start off this week's weather with today's forecast. Today's high is going to reach a warm 68 degrees during the day, while cooling off to around 55 tonight. There will be a mix of sunshine and clouds throughout the day, with a chance of showers at night. Now, hopefully these showers aren't going to be too heavy, but you never know with how Pittsburgh weather works. Now let's take a look at this week overall. Sadly, this week isn't looking as warm as we had last, but temperatures will still range within the high 50s to 60s. The coolest day coming up this week will be Thursday, with a high of 48 degrees and a low of 28. All week will be mostly cloudy, with some sun peeking out on Monday and Tuesday. Sadly, however, we can expect a little rain at the end of this week, so get your rain boots and umbrellas ready. That's your weather for this week. Back to you, Claire.
After the short break, we'll have a nice heartwarming story to round off our show for this week. Stay tuned.
The United Student Government at Point Park University, working since the 1970s to solve the issues that matter to you. What concerns do you have about the university? Student life, safety, food service? Send us an email to studentconcerns@pointpark.edu or stop by our office on the 7th floor of the Student Center. You can also attend our weekly open meetings on Mondays at 3:15. Follow us on social media at USG_PPU for more. The United Student Government, by the students, for the students.
The Point Park Sports Network, bringing you live coverage of Pioneer Athletics on Stretch Internet, the home of the River States Conference and the NAIA. Subscribe today for complete access to the Point Park volleyball, baseball, basketball, and soccer teams. Watch live and on-demand broadcasts, and don't miss a minute of Point Park Athletics. Head to pointparksports.com/live for broadcast listings. The Point Park Sports Network, your streaming home for Point Park Athletics.
3, 2, 1.
Please visit our website. Please, it's a nice website. Please visit our website. Please.
If you have ever watched television, whether accidentally or on purpose, YouView is for you.
Last week, the National Aviary in Pittsburgh announced the gender and name of their new baby African penguin. The chick hatched in January, but just last week was announced to be a little girl with the name Marge. The penguin's gender could not be identified at birth. The aviary had to wait until the juvenile feathers started to grow in order to perform a DNA test. According to the National Aviary, the name was chosen by a board member and donor Rich Caruso, who chose the name after his mother. If you want to go meet Marge, she will be available to be seen daily from 12:30 to 2 p.m. in their Avian Care Center windows. Isn't she cute? Well, that's all we have for you this week. Thank you for tuning in to this week's virtual episode of NewsNight. I'm Claire Lindsay, and from everyone here at NewsNight, have a great week. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week.